法定人數。
Right, members, we have attained the quorum. It's about time to make a start. Item number 1, confirmation of minutes of the 23rd meeting held on April the 26th. I received no proposed amendments. Can I take the minutes as confirmed? Thank you. Meeting with the CS, there is nothing much in particular to report. Item 3, further business for council meeting held on May the 8th. Business originally scheduled for the council meeting on April the 24th. This will continue. Further business for council meeting of May the 8th. Proposed resolution under section 34(4) of the Interpretation and General Clauses Ordinance Cap 1 in relation to the residential care homes, persons with disabilities ordinance, commencement notice to be moved by Honorable Peter Cheung. Mr. Cheung will extend this or seek to extend this to June the 5th. We're not sure whether this can be done though. Business for council meeting of May the 15th, 2013. There are 22 questions, 6 oral and 16 written have been scheduled for the meeting. But as I said earlier on, if the filibuster is going to go on, the oral questions will be converted into written questions. Bills, first and second reading. There is no notification. Government motion. Proposed resolution under Section 3 of the Loans Ordinance Cap 61 to be moved by SFST. Legal advisor, please. Chairman, will members please refer to paper LS 46. The proposed resolution seeks to authorize the borrowings by the government for the purposes of the bond fund up to a sum not exceeding $200 billion, so that the government can issue the bonds under the government bond program. At the FA panel on the 8th of April, members were consulted. Should this go through, the government will have this commence on a date gazetted in the notice in the Gazette. Any SC needed? No? All right. Members' motions. Motion on June the 4th incident to be moved by Mr. Albert Ho, and motion on democratic procedures for the election of the chief executive by universal suffrage in 2017 to be moved by Honorable Alan Leung. Deadline for amendment is May the 8th, Wednesday. A list containing 2 items of subsidiary legislation. The period for amendment will expire on May the 15th has been tabled for members. Please be reminded that if you intend to speak, the deadline to give notice is May the 7th at 5 p.m. All right, report of Bills Committee on District Council's Amendment Bill, Mr. Ip Kwok-che. Chairman. The bill seeks to amend the District Council Ordinance and the relevant subsidiary legislation to specify that as of the 1st of January 2016, or the 5th term, the appointment system will be abolished for the District Council. We've had 3 meetings, and at one of the meetings we received deputations and members of the public. Members are in general supportive of the abolition of all appointed seats for the district councils starting from the 1st of January 2016. Members expressed some concerns over the implications on the operation of the district council and also the desirability of keeping ex officio members. The Bills Committee supports the second reading and resumption debate on the 15th of May 2013. The administration and the Bills Committee would not move any amendments. All the details are set out in the report for members' information. Thank you. Just a reminder that the notice for CSAs is May the 6th, Monday. Next, second report of the subcommittee on subsidiary legislation made under the new companies ordinance. Mr. Hon CHEUNG Kwok. Chairman, thank you. We've had 2 meetings to discuss the second batch of subsidiary legislation under the new companies ordinance. There are 2 pieces there. Members noticed that in relation to 24 of the company's revision of financial statements and report regulation, the penalty is inconsistent with the legislation. The administration agrees to amend 14A and add 24A to deal with the relevant issues. Also, in order to make sure that the regulations are more clearer and will come with a better flow in the text, there will be amendments to the Chinese and English texts. All the details of our deliberation are set out in the report. The subcommittee will not move any amendments. However, since the scrutiny period of the 2 pieces of subsidiary legislation has expired on the 24th of April, and LegCo fails to handle the regulation which has been extended, and therefore the administration cannot move any amendments. Since the new companies ordinance has yet to commence, the administration will consider how best to deal with the situation depending on circumstances. The administration will be submitting the 3rd batch of subsidiary legislation to the Council. We'll get on with the work as soon as possible. Thank you. All right, this is one of the victims of the filibustering. The next one is the report of the subcommittee on Frontier Closed Area Amendment Order 2013 and Frontier Closed Area Permission to Enter Amendment Notice 2013. Mr. Kwok-che. Chairman, the FCA Amendment Order 2013 and the FCA Permission to Enter Amendment Notice 2013 have been completed in the scrutiny work. Both pieces seek to implement the second stage reduction of the FCA. We've had 1 meeting with the administration. Members expressed concerns about the security arrangement as a result of the reduction and the application for closed area permits. Members also expressed concerns about the development proposal for the land released from the reduction of the FCA, and they discussed the desirability of keeping the Sao Kok Hui within the scope of the reduced FCA. We don't have any contra views regarding the subsidiary legislation. No amendments will be moved. We will submit a written report. Right. The deadline for amendment is the 15th of May, and the deadline for giving notice is May the 18th. There are, as of now, 12 bills committees, 9 subcommittees under the House, 5 subcommittees on subsidiary legislation, the 3 that are on the waiting list. Moving on next to proposals to appoint a select committee to consider matters relating to the conduct of the former Commissioner ICAC, Mr. Timothy Tong, and the arrangements for expenses on entertainment, duty visits outside Hong Kong, and giving of gifts during his term of office, and to authorize the Select Committee to exercise the powers under Section 9(1) of the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. We have received a letter or letters from Mr. Dennis Kwok and Ms. Sit Ho. So it is this is to decide whether I should move the setting up of a select committee under the Powers and Privileges Ordinance in my capacity as chairman of the House Committee. So make it brief, please, 3 minutes each for Mr. Kwok and Ms. Sit-ho. Mr. Kwok first, please. Chairman, the members of the public are concerned about the ICAC. I don't think I need to be verbose about it. Everyone knows about the core value of Hong Kong, and ICAC represents the integrity in Hong Kong. There was a prosecution against a postman for taking a lychee packet, maybe $12 or so, and he was convicted. Now, there were some prosecutions against people for accepting mooncake vouchers, and they were convicted. The ICAC are telling us that the gifts do not include a bird's nest and food items. Now, what sort of attitude is this, and what sort of ICAC are we talking about? The chief executive is going to set up an independent review committee, which doesn't have any statutory power, which doesn't have any credibility. It is neither fish nor fowl, and they try to muddle the way through, and the Civic Party cannot accept this. Members from all political persuasion must treasure the ICAC. They must cherish the integrity and the core values of Hong Kong. I hope that you would rise above this political divide and set up a select committee to salvage our credibility. Ms. Sit-ho, Chairman, I hope that you would, on behalf of the House Committee, move a motion to set up a select committee to investigate this matter, because that would represent the fact that members of different political persuasions would be very concerned about our traditional and core values. Now, this integrity is something that does us proud, and there are so many Chinese communities that are coming to learn from us. I think the ICAC Commissioner should be whiter than white, but unfortunately he has been so extravagant. He had lavish meals, and he gave really extravagant gifts, which are very expensive, far higher than the cap imposed on gifts to be given by civil servants. Now, when the Commissioner contacted the mainland officials promoting the idea of a clean government and integrity, he is in fact giving people the misconception that we're merely talking, and this cannot be taken seriously, and this kind of extravagance is likely to be insidiously creeping into Hong Kong. It is important to be standing firm against corruption, because if this is going to spread, as the saying goes, as above, so below, we are likely to find ourselves back in the old days in the 1960s when we applied for public services. We had to give lychee packets. I mean, that was a dark day for Hong Kong, and the situation could be very serious, and that would be detrimental to the lives of the general public. I fully realize that some members here are scared of this PNP powers, and they said that this is a trump card and they should be used sparingly. Now, we don't really want to use it if we don't have these naked corrupt practices, then we don't have to do it. It would be far better for us to reach out to the public. So I hope that members will support this proposal to invoke the PNP, to have a look at Timothy Tong and find out how many malpractices that have yet to be exposed. This review committee, appointed by the chief executive, will be looking at the rules and regulations. It is not looking at individuals. In fact, the malpractices may have spread elsewhere, and we have to get on top of this. Now, we talk about corruption-free Hong Kong. I think we shouldn't just pay lip service. We have to do something about it.
Mr. Leung Kwok-che, Chairman, as you can see here, the slogan reads, "Who dare investigate me, Timothy Tong?" And that would be tantamount to opposing China and trying to stir up chaos in Hong Kong. No, some members say that we should not make use of the powers under the ordinance lightly. There's no need to make use of such powers. Of course, we would welcome a commission of inquiry like that, which investigated the Lama incident. But so we don't. The problem at the moment is that we don't know the truth. You can say that, in fact, we've only heard rumors. People are alleging that Timothy Tong has done this and has done that. So the pro-establishment camp is against the idea of setting up a select committee. So are you telling us that you believe in what the reports say? Now, in fact, one mainland lender gave me this bottle. He said that this is a bottle of Mao Tai. I want to say that I suspect that Mr. Timothy Tong has done these things, and that's why we need an inquiry. We need an investigation. Now, the select committee operates in a very transparent manner, and when we issue a summons to a witness must attend the hearing. There is no choice on his part. So, in fact, for those who have drunk Mao Tai with him, I think you really should have advised him against drinking so much. Ms. Claudia Mo, a week ago, I and Gary Fan went to ICAC to lodge a complaint against the former commissioner for ICAC for alleged malpractices. And then this morning, I tried to use email, telephone, and SMS to get a reply from the ICAC, including from the commissioner. And we were told that a reply would be given to us very soon concerning whether investigation would be carried out. And then yesterday, CY Leung announced the setting up of a review committee. So is it that because the liaison office is involved, then we must not investigate the matter? And I think those who oppose the setting up of select committee owe the public an explanation. Why is it that there can't be an investigation? Chairman, I will not be long-winded. I'm not trying to filibuster. But then ICAC represents one of the most important core values of Hong Kong. We're talking about a very big wound. This wound is decaying, and so an operation or surgery is needed. We are asking for a thorough investigation because we support the ICAC, because we love the ICAC. And it seems that the legislature is now supporting the executive or collaborating with the executive. In fact, we should be checking the work of the executive. So if it's a big wound, if a surgery is needed, then stitches will not be enough. Mr. K.K. Kwok, Chairman, I think everybody in Hong Kong is angry about what Timothy Tong has allegedly done. We expect all public officers to observe a high standard of integrity. You know, yesterday, CY Leung said that there would be a review of the regulatory systems and procedures. But we've asked for an investigation. We've asked for an inquiry. And those from the pro-establishment camp are willing to accept a review committee. Now, this is because they do not want to embarrass the liaison office, they do not want to embarrass the central authorities, they do not want to embarrass mainland officials. Now, in fact, the ICAC is trying to tell the mainland how to fight corruption. And what has the former commissioner of ICAC done? What sort of example has he set for them? So I hope that the HC chairman can, on our behalf, move a motion to set up a select committee. Now, so previously we said that it was really good that Hong Kong had ICAC, but now I believe Timothy Tong would think that it's good to have CY Leung and Cheueng Kwok shooting him. So if we just accept a review committee, then in fact we are letting Timothy Tong off the hook. And I believe 4 months later we'll just receive a report with very vague content. And so I hope that members will all support the idea of setting up a select committee in this council to investigate the matter. Dr. Kenneth Chen, I think this is a scandal, Chairman. We have always prided ourselves on the core value of integrity. And now Hong Kong people feel hurt. So we've seen increasing integration over the past decade or so, and I hope that we'll not be integrating and converging with the mainland on this front. So let's put aside our political differences. Let's put aside our prejudices and biases. It's important that we send a very clear message to the community and to the world. We should ask our HC chairman to move a motion in the council to set up a select committee to investigate the matter. So where is Timothy Tong now? He hasn't shown up. And there are some who say that he has very close contacts with mainland organs or organizations. In fact, we did raise such questions at the special FC meetings, but to no avail. We were not given pertinent replies. You know, if you are seriously ill, you may really need surgery. And I think it's important that we remove the tumors of corruption for Hong Kong. We should remove them completely. And there is an international organization called Transparency International. And this organization compiles corruption indexes for different places in the world. And I'm worried that the situation in Hong Kong may deteriorate with regard to corruption. Now we have to hand over this venue to the FC at 3:30 p.m. And if we can't adjourn the meeting by 3:30 p.m., then we will have to resume the meeting at 5:30 p.m. So let's be concise. Members may not need to use up their 2 minutes. Mr. Ng Leung Seng. Yes, Chairman. We've been told that formal complaint reports have been made. And so should we still comment too much on the case, since a formal complaint report has already been made to the authorities? And then second, we trust that the law enforcement agency concerned will take appropriate action in response to the complaint received. And then it is said that we should probe into expenses on entertainment. And I think we should not comment on rumors and other reports. Now, it is said that this is a good organization. We don't want to ruin it. So if we make too many irrelevant comments on other reports, then are we really trying to support this organization, or are we trying to ruin it? And then I am a member of the PAC, and we're going to have an open hearing on Chapter 7 of the PAC report. And I'm sure PAC members will make sure that they are adequately prepared for that hearing. And I don't think there is a need to set up another committee on this matter. Mrs. Priscilla Leung, in the last term, I took part in the work of 2 select committees and 1 subcommittee or investigation committee, and a legal advisor. I know he is smiling. So, in fact, very often when we set up committees, the purpose is to make recommendations on improvements to the system or to the mechanism. Now, concerning the former Commissioner of ICAC, Mr. Timothy Tong, I think here we're talking about 2 things. First of all, the person. Second, the system. So is it that the ICAC has decayed? Now, I think this accusation is unfair. This accusation against the operation of the ICAC is unfair. And then, how are we going to deal with the person and the system? And concerning the person, do we first have to establish the facts beyond reasonable doubt? And this applies also to the system. I don't think we should jump to the conclusion today that the ICAC system has fallen apart. Now, we understand that a complaint has been made. Then does it mean that we should at the same time set up a select committee in LegCo? I think at this stage this is not a good idea. Now, the PAC will conduct a public hearing on the relevant chapter of the Director of Audit's report, and CE has already announced that an independent review committee will be set up to look at the regulatory systems and procedures. Then, if we set up a select committee, we may be duplicating the work of this independent review committee. We may be reaching the same conclusions. Time's up. Mr. Kenneth Leung. Yes, Chairman, when Timothy Tong was the Commissioner ICAC, Hong Kong's corruption perception index rose from 12 to 13, and now it's 14. I personally support the setting up of a select committee in LegCo. There are 3 reasons. It's true that the PAC is going to conduct a public hearing, but then the PAC is only concerned about value for money. We only look at whether resources are used in a cost-efficient manner, and we have to also restrict ourselves to the work of the Community Relations Department. And then concerning the Independent Review Committee, its terms of reference are narrow. It can only look at the regulatory systems and the procedures. Now, concerning Timothy Tong, we don't know whether it's the person or the system that is problematic. And that's why we need to have a select committee so that we can have an open and transparent investigation. Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, I support LegCo's making use of the LegCo Powers and Privileges Ordinance to investigate the scandals surrounding Timothy Tong. I think concerning this independent review committee set up by C.Y. Leung, no, I think it's meaningless. In fact, Mr. Chung Kwok-che should be investigated. He is the chairman of the Vice Advisory Committee on Corruption of ICAC. You know, I in fact have written to Chung Kwok-che, and he hasn't replied. Where are you, Chung Kwok-che? Why is it that you are now investigating others? He hasn't done a good job. Look at the succession problem in the ICAC. Look at the governance in the ICAC. And we want to know why the Commissioner treated the liaison office to dinner for over 20 times, and we don't know how many times liaison office treated Timothy Tong to dinner, and then Timothy Tong also gave many gifts to the liaison office, and we didn't know whether the liaison office also gave a lot of gifts to Timothy Tong. And then when Simon Pei assumed office again, he had dinner with the liaison office. He initially he said, no, I didn't have or hadn't had dinner with liaison office. And why is it that Timothy Tong brought his friends to official dinners? I think we need a select committee with statutory powers to demand papers and to summon witnesses. So at the moment, what can we do? We can only invite and beg people to give us information, and also I think we need transparency. This committee, this independent review committee, is going to work behind closed doors, and then they will just produce a report 4 months later.
Well, I think it's lucky that Hong Kong has ICAC, which is respected internationally, and I hope that ICAC will export integrity. If what happens to Timothy Tong is true, then it is exporting corruption, which is distressing for Hong Kong. C.Y. Leung hastily set up yesterday this independent review committee. Let's not talk about the independence or neutrality of the members. The terms of reference has raised some doubts because it is there to look at the rules and regulations, not Timothy Tong. We're not trying to nail Timothy Tong today. We're trying to salvage the credibility of ICAC. Otherwise, our core value will be out of the window. Now, some people may say that you shouldn't just look at the individual. Now, we have to look at both the system and the individual, like what we did during the Lehman Brothers saga. Why can't we do the same thing if we could do it during the Lehman saga? Now, there were reports made to the police also. You cannot really say anything to suit your preference. I think we ought to be more pragmatic. We are doing this for the sake of the entire Hong Kong. We're doing this for the sake of the core values of Hong Kong. So I hope that members should not simply look at your own political stance without looking at the whole of Hong Kong. I support the Select Committee. Ms. Helena Wong, Chairman, I support invoking PNP to investigate into this. So we're not investigating into ICAC. We are going to be investigating Timothy Tong. We have to make a distinction there. We need to have an independent committee. We're not stopping ICAC conducting the investigation, but we do need to have a statutory body or committee outside the ICAC to look into this. Now, are we talking about Timothy Tong engaging in lavish or giving lavish gifts and extravagant gifts and so on? And I think we are all concerned about Hong Kong being able to have a clean government, a corruption-free government. We have the ICAC in Hong Kong, but if this former commissioner could be engaging in all these alleged malpractices, and for us to sit here and say, forget it, let them get on with it in the committee, then we can't say we are loving Hong Kong and loving the nation. There was a political science lecturer, Pan Wei, who said that the whole nation should learn from the ICAC in Hong Kong in dealing with corruption cases. Now, this corruption-free system in Hong Kong has been built up with a lot of hard work, and it is likely to be damaged. If we do not do something about it, then we'll be letting Hong Kong down. We'll be letting the mainland down. We need to have a corruption-free government. I support the motion. Mr. Tommy Cheung. Now, the Liberal Party feels that the ICAC should not be investigating itself. That's why there is a need for an outside committee to look into this. A lot of the problems have to do with the accounts. I think the PAC should follow up on this, like whether Timothy Tong try to secure any benefits after retirement because of all these extravagance. So we support a public hearing to be conducted by the PAC in relation to Timothy Tong. But it seems that there are more and more malpractices being exposed, and the PAC may not have the remit to deal with allegations outside the purview of the PAC. But it would be too politicized to invoke the PNP. I think the best course of action is to ask the administration. In fact, the Liberal Party has written to the chief executive. The best course of action is for a commission of inquiry to be chaired by a retired judge to investigate into the whole thing. That would restore the credibility of the ICAC. Now, failing that, we would consider supporting, invoking the PNP to deal with this. Mr. Sin Chung Kai. Chairman, I support the idea of PAC being involved. There is a review committee looking at the system. Now, if we set up a state committee, will there be any duplication? I don't think so. The PAC can carry on with its investigation, but I think that we have to look at the whole tenure of Timothy Tong and his contact with the mainland officials and see whether he flouted any confidentiality rules in the ICAC. During their contacts, has he violated the rule? When I was a kid, people who worked in ICAC almost had to sever their links with all their relatives. Now, I think all these contacts with the mainland by Timothy Tong have to be investigated. Now, this is really very much the talk of the town now. Now, during these dinner receptions, and if they have consumed alcohol, would they be liable? Would he be liable to expose any confidential information, or was he trying to leak any information? Now this committee that is looking into this will not be looking at this particular aspect. We're not merely talking about the couple of $1 million worth of gifts and food items. The main question is whether there has been any information leaked. Mr. Lam Tai-fai? Well, many members believe in this trump card of PNP ordinance. I don't have any faith in this myself. I was involved in the Leung Chin-men investigation and the WKCD selection panel investigation. Have we found out anything about it? I think we all know about it. I think if Timothy Leung can learn from C.Y. Leung and Leung Chin-men and use their tactics of not remembering, not knowing, and all these tactics, we may not be able to get to the bottom of the whole thing. So I object to the invocation of PNP. Some accuse me of not trusting C.Y. Leung. Now, many people likewise say that C.Y. Leung doesn't trust me. But I can tell you at this point in time that over this Timothy Tong issue, I have faith in C.Y. Leung. I believe that he would be seriously dealing with this matter and bring justice to the ICAC. I'm not worried about the ICAC investigating its own kind. As of all these reasons, I don't support the invocation of PNP to investigate Timothy Tong. If all these three measures, the review committee, the internal investigation, and the PAC inquiry, if all these yield nothing at all, then I would support using this rusty trump card to deal with it. But right now, I don't think I can support it. Mr. Fernando Cheung. Well, I think we have to pull out the sword, even if it is rusty. The government is not even pulling out a sword. It is not even a stick or rod. This review committee will not look at individual malpractices or non-compliance with the rules. They are investigating their own kind. Hon CHEUNG Kwok-che is the chairman of the Advisory Committee on Corruption at the ICAC. Now, for Timothy Tong to be involved in these malpractices, Hon CHEUNG Kwok-che should be held responsible himself, and he's now put in charge of this review committee. It is true that the PNP may not be all-powerful. It may be rusty, but there are many ways that they can evade this trump card. Now, have you ever seen Timothy Tong since the whole thing has been exposed? This review committee, according to C.Y. Leung, will exercise discretion. I think it will be exercising discretion in Timothy Tong's favor. I think even though the sword has become rusty, we still have to unsheath it. Otherwise, there will be nothing we can get from the whole saga. Now, the ICAC is a staunch defender of our core values. I think we have to make sure that the inquiry will be conducted under the sun. We have to make sure that credibility can be restored for the ICAC. We have to clear the name of the ICAC, which has been tarnished by Timothy Tong. Now, according to the information, there seems to be misrepresentation of some of the truths. Members, there are 4 members or 5: Alice Mack, Alan Leung, Ronnie Tong, Jeffrey Lam, James To, and Yip Kwok Him. I have to draw a line there. So make it very brief, please. Ms. Alice Mack. Chairman, I heard some members said that they've made a report to the ICAC, and I also heard that the PAC will be summoning Timothy Tong along here. Now, since things are happening and we should be able to find out about the problems, and I believe that we have to investigate into this. It's a matter of how the PAC will be conducting inquiries, and some members have already made a report. And I think you should pursue the ICAC for them to get on with their investigation first. That would enable us to find out more about it. We all agree that we should have a clean government, but I don't think you should logically argue that the objection of this PNP invocation would mean that we connive with corruption. Mr. Alan Leung. Chairman, I remember Commissioner Simon Pei on the 24th of April, when meeting the media, said that he would work with the electrical investigations. Now, this incumbent commissioner is prepared to tie in with the electrical work. I don't think we should be taking away our own power and try to be defending C.Y. Leung administration, because this is running counter to our role, this sacrosanct role of keeping the executive branch on its toes. Now, there are a couple of points of concern. First, whether Timothy Tong tried to secure a official position with taxpayers' money, or has he imported this extravagance into ICAC from the mainland or into Hong Kong? Has he abused power, abused his official capacity? Now, this cannot be found out by simple investigation. Now, C.Y. Leung announced this 4-member review committee. It doesn't even enjoy any investigative power. If some members feel that the PNP Select Committee is not good enough, then this 4-member review committee certainly will not be able to inspire any faith in anybody at all, because it doesn't have any investigative power. So the Civic Party is fully supportive of the idea of invoking the Powers and Privileges Ordinance and get on with the Select Committee.
Mr. Ronnie Tong. Chairman, I think we have expected the pro-establishment camp, except perhaps the Liberal Party has to defend the Leung administration. But I think it's important that integrity is a core value which we all cherish and we uphold. The fact that you haven't contravened the poll doesn't mean that you are observing a high standard of integrity. And although you can meet value for money standards, it doesn't mean that you are observing a high standard of integrity. And so concerning PAC hearings, the Independent Review Committee, and also reports made to the ICAC, these cannot help the LegCo make sure that the administration observes a high degree of or high standard of integrity. We are not merely looking at value for money. We are looking at whether this government observes a high standard of integrity. If there are people who are making use of the loopholes in the system, then we have to improve the system. We have to perfect the legislation. We may even have to amend the poll. And so if members are against the idea of investigating the matter, then they are not discharging their duties as LegCo members. Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Now, Mr. Fernando Cheung said that Mr. Cheng Kwok-che had been the chairman of the Advisory Committee on Corruption of ICAC, and he has not been able to really monitor the performance of Timothy Tong. I want to say that, in fact, he has just become the chairman of this committee after Mr. Timothy Tong stepped down, in fact. Now, in fact, the PAC has already decided that there will be a public hearing, and Timothy Tong will be invited to come as a witness. And yesterday, the CE announced that an independent review committee would be set up. I hope that the independent review committee can start its work as soon as possible. So this committee will review the compliance of ICAC staff of all ranks during the term of the former commissioner ICAC with the regulatory systems and procedures. And I think if they can provide us with all such information, I think that's enough. And so at this stage, the BPA doesn't support the LegCo's invoking the LegCo Powers and Privileges Ordinance to investigate the matter. Thank you. Mr. James Toh. And for the public want to see a thorough and complete investigation. The incident can have very serious implications and consequences. Now, if the CE had appointed a commission of inquiry, then the Pan-Democrats, the Liberal Party, and the pro-establishment camp even would have supported the idea. But it's surprising that the CE decided to set up this review committee, which is neither here nor there. It doesn't have statutory powers. It can't summon anybody to give evidence. And the members of this independent review committee have a role to play with regard to monitoring the work of the ICAC. The members, including Mr. Cheng Kwok-che, do not really enjoy enough credibility in this regard. Now, the PAC looks at value for money, and then this independent review committee merely looks at the system. And concerning criminal investigations, those will be limited to whether there have been false bills, whether someone has made use of his public office to seek personal gains, whether the girlfriend has been brought to official meals, and so on and so forth. And I think we need a statutory commission of inquiry. I believe we can all accept this a commission to be led by a retired judge. But without this commission of an inquiry, I'm sure the public will not be happy. People will lose confidence in the administration. Mr. Kwok-che. Yes, Chairman. I understand that media reports on Timothy Tong have sparked a public outcry. Yes, I understand that the ICAC is a very important organization in Hong Kong. I would like to appeal to different political parties to put aside their differences. We should work together to make sure that the ICAC and its reputation will not be jeopardized because of this incident. And we hope that ICAC can continue to fight the so-called big tigers. Now, I understand that the reports have been made to the ICAC. Some of our colleagues have made reports to the ICAC. And if we if we say that we are suspicious because the ICAC is investigating itself, then I think we are really dwarfing the ICAC. We are not having enough trust in the ICAC. You know, the ICAC investigates people like Raphael Hui. And then the CE has appointed a review committee to carry out a comprehensive review of the system. I am sure members all feel that they are concerned about the system. They want to tackle the flaws in the system. So ICAC will investigate the complaints received, and then the PAC will carry out its value for money audit. The independent review committee will also do its work. So at the stage, there is no need to invoke upon the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And some members seem to suggest that contacts with the liaison office is a sin or are a sin. And they are worried that such contacts amount to deferred rewards or using gifts and meals to buy high positions, and I think such accusations are necessary. All right, so we have Mr. Oyukman. No, or should we now put the matter to the vote? Chairman? As the new NPP hasn't spoken, then I think I would like to claim a division. Now I have 2 minutes left, and but then if I let you speak and then I don't let KK Fong speak, then I will be unfair because the time is limited. All right, let's ring the bell. There will be a division. 5 minutes.
應該開始呢個投票啦，係嘛？
The voting procedure has already been triggered.
請你飲。辛苦。 表決現在開始。
Voting begins. Before voting is closed, please check the votes you've cast, members.
如果冇問題嘅，
Right, if there are no queries, voting is closed.
請秘書顯示點票嘅結果。
Yes, can we display the results, please? Number of members present 60, 25 for, 31 against, 3 abstentions. So the motion is negatived. AOB, I don't have AOB items. Meeting adjourned.